The ship came down from the sky on a Tuesday morning. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. It blocked out the sun over Seoul and cast a shadow that stretched for miles. People stopped in the streets and looked up. Some ran, some cried. Most just stood there with their mouths open, trying to understand what they were seeing. Captain Taeho was eating breakfast when the call came. He was a tall man with short black hair and calm eyes. He had served in the Korean Space Force for 15 years, but nothing in his training had prepared him for this. Within an hour, he was standing on a military airfield, watching the massive alien vessel lower itself to the ground. The doors opened with a hiss of steam. Figures walked out. They were tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. They wore robes of silver and gold. They moved like they owned the world, and in their minds, they probably did. The leader called herself Velinara. She was an ambassador of the Galactic Imperium, a civilization that had ruled the stars for 12,000 years. She spoke through a small device that translated her words into perfect Korean. "We have watched your species for some time," Velinara said. Her voice was cold and flat. "You have achieved basic space travel. This is why we have come. It is time for you to take your place in the Galactic Order." Taeho stood with the other military officers and government leaders. He watched Velinara carefully. There was something in her eyes that he did not like. It was not hatred. It was not fear. It was worse. It was the look of someone staring at an insect. "The Imperium has a system," Velinara continued. "We call it the hierarchy of species. Every civilization is ranked based on genetic markers. These markers tell us your potential, your intelligence, your worth. We have scanned your people. We have studied your biology." She paused. A thin smile crossed her face. "Humans are classified as Tier 7. This is the lowest rank. You are barely above animals. You will serve the Imperium as workers and laborers. This is not a request. This is how things are." The room erupted in anger. Generals shouted. Politicians demanded respect. But Velinara just stood there, unmoved. Behind her, alien soldiers held weapons that glowed with strange light. No one dared to move against her. Taedasho said nothing. He just watched later that night. He was assigned as the military liaison to the alien delegation. It was not an honor. It was a way to keep him quiet. The government wanted someone calm, someone who would not start a war. Taeho was known for his patience, but patience was not the same as weakness. He was joined by Dr. Suman, geneticist from the Korea Aerospace Research Institute. She was a small woman with glasses and quick hands. She talked fast and thought faster. She had been chosen to join the diplomatic science team, which meant she would be allowed to study the aliens up close. "They think we are animals," Suman said as they walked through the base. "Can you believe that? They looked at our DNA and decided we were worthless. They looked at our DNA and saw what they wanted to see." Taeho replied. His second in command was a man named Hyansu. He was younger than Taeho, with a quick temper and a sharp tongue. He did not trust the aliens. He made no effort to hide it. "We should fight them," Hyansu said. "Right now. Before they get comfortable." "With what?" Taeho asked. "They have ships that can cross galaxies. We have rockets that can barely reach Mars. Fighting them now would be suicide. So we just accept being slaves. No, we wait. We watch. We learn." The days that followed were strange and humiliating. The aliens treated humans like servants. They gave orders and expected them to be followed without question. They laughed at human technology. They mocked human art and music. They said that humans had no culture worth preserving. But Taeho noticed something odd. The alien scientists seemed nervous around humans. They ran extra scans. They whispered to each other in their own language. When they looked at the scan results, their faces changed. Some looked confused. Others looked afraid. One night, Taeho asked Suman about it. "I noticed it too," she said. "They keep scanning us over and over, like they are looking for something. Or maybe they found something they did not expect. What could they find?" "They already said we are Tier 7, the lowest of the low." Suman shook her head. I do not know. But something does not add up. They act like they own everything, but when they look at our DNA, they get scared. Why would a superior species be scared of a lower one? Tejo did not have an answer, but the question stayed with him. A week later, Velinara summoned the human leaders to a formal meeting. She stood on a raised platform, looking down at them like a queen looking at peasants. The Imperium has decided, she announced. Earth will be integrated into our systems. Your people will be transported to work colonies across the galaxy. Your planet will be used for resource extraction. This process will begin in 30 days. The room was silent. Some people wept. Others stared at the floor in defeat. But Tejo stood straight and looked directly at Velinara. She noticed. Her eyes narrowed. You have something to say, human? No, Tejo said calmly. I am just remembering. Remembering what? That every empire falls. Sooner or later, Velinara laughed. It was a cold, empty sound. The Imperium has stood for 12,000 years. We have conquered 10,000 worlds. We have crushed species far greater than yours. You are nothing. You are dust. And dust does not threaten mountains. She turned and walked away. The meeting was over. That night, Tejo sat alone in his quarters. He thought about what Velinara had said. He thought about the fear in the alien scientists' eyes. He thought about the scans they kept running. Something was wrong. Something they were not telling the humans. And Tejo was going to find out what it was. He did not know it yet. But the answer would change everything. Not just for Earth. Not just for humanity. But for the entire galaxy, the aliens called humans a lesser species. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Dr. Suman had never been in space before. As the alien shuttle carried her up through the clouds and into the darkness above, she pressed her face against the window like a child. Below her, Earth grew smaller and smaller until it was just a blue marble floating in the black. The Imperium flagship was called the Eternal Dawn. It was 5 kilometers, long and shaped like a silver blade. Thousands of aliens lived and worked inside it. To them, it was just another ship. To Suman, it was the most amazing thing she had ever seen. She was part of a cultural exchange program. That was what the aliens called it. In truth, it was a chance for them to study humans up close, like scientists studying animals in a zoo. But Suman did not care. She wanted to see their technology. She wanted to understand how they worked. And most of all, she wanted to find out why they were so afraid of human. DNA, her guide, was a young alien named Pell. He was nervous and talked too much. He showed her the ship's gardens, its factories, its living quarters. Everything was clean and perfect. Everything worked without effort. It made human technology look like toys made by children. But Suman was not interested in gardens and factories. She was interested in the ship's genetic archives. What is that place? She asked, pointing to a large door marked with strange symbols. Pell's face went pale. That is the Hall of Records. It contains the genetic data of every species the Imperium has ever encountered. It is sacred. Can I see it? I do not think that would be. I am a geneticist. Your ambassador said I was here to learn. How can I learn if I cannot see your most important work? Pell hesitated. Then he nodded slowly. I will ask for permission. To Suman's surprise, permission was granted. Perhaps the aliens thought a Tier 7 human was too stupid to understand what she was seeing. Perhaps they simply did not care. Either way, she was allowed inside. The Hall of Records was enormous. Rows upon rows of glowing containers stretched into the distance. Each one held the genetic data of a different species. Some were marked with symbols of honor. Others were marked with symbols of shame. And at the very end of the hall, behind a thick glass wall, there was a single vault marked with symbols that Soman did not recognize. What is that? She asked. Pell did not answer. His whole body had gone stiff. Pell, what is in that vault? The Vorath, he whispered. His voice was barely audible. It contains the genetic record of the Vorath. Who are the Vorath? Pell looked around to make sure no one was listening. Then he spoke in a low voice. The Vorath were the first rulers of the galaxy. They existed before the Imperium. Before any civilization we know, they were the ultimate predators. Strong, fast, intelligent, and completely without mercy. They conquered everything they touched. They destroyed species for sport. They were monsters. What happened to them? Our ancestors united against them. It took 1,000 years and cost billions of lives, but we finally destroyed them. Every last one. The Vorith had been extinct for over 10,000 years.
Ow!
Pointed at the vault. That is all that remains. Their genetic record. We keep it as a reminder and a warning. Sumin stared at the vault. A warning of what? That the universe is not safe. That there are things out there worse than anything you can imagine. The Voroth were the worst of all. We do not speak of them. We do not study them. We simply remember that they are gone, and we are grateful. That night, Sumin could not sleep. She kept thinking about the Voreth, about the fear in Pel's voice, about the way the alien scientists kept scanning human DNA over and over. A crazy idea formed in her mind. She told herself it was impossible. She told herself she was being foolish. But the idea would not go away. The next day, she returned to the Hall of Records. She told the guards she wanted to run a routine analysis on some Earth specimens. They let her use one of the machines without question. Su-Min took a sample of her own blood. She placed it in the machine. She told the computer to analyze it and compare it to everything in the database. The machine hummed softly. Numbers scrolled across the screen. Sumin waited. Then the alarm started. Red lights flashed. Sirens screamed. Guards came running from every direction. Pel burst through the door, his face white with terror. He shouted, "I just ran an analysis. Look at the screen." Sumin looked. The words were in an alien language. But the computer had translated them automatically. Genetic, match found. Species, Voreth. Match percentage, 97.3%. Su-Min felt her heart stop. "That is impossible," Pel whispered. "The Voreth are extinct. They have been extinct for 10,000 years. Then how do you explain this?" "I cannot. I cannot explain any of this." In minutes, the ship was in chaos. Velinara herself came to the Hall of Records. She stared at the screen for a long time without speaking. Her face showed no emotion, but her hands were shaking. "Detain the humans," she finally said. "All of them. Immediately." "Ambassador, what does this mean?" one of her officers asked. Velinara turned to him. For the first time, Sumain saw real fear in her eyes. "It means we made a terrible mistake. We thought we found a primitive species on a backwater world. We were wrong. The humans are not a lesser species. They are the descendants of the Voroth. Or perhaps," she swallowed hard, "perhaps the Voroth never really went extinct. Perhaps they simply went somewhere we never thought to look. A small blue planet at the edge of the galaxy where they slept and evolved. And waited. Waited for what? I do not know. And that is what terrifies me." Taeho and Haeonsu were taken from their quarters by armed guards. They were not told why. They were not given a chance to ask questions. They were simply marched through the ship and thrown into a holding cell. Hours later, Sumin joined them. Her face was pale, but her eyes were bright with excitement. "What happened?" Taeho asked. Sumin told them everything. About the Vorith. About the genetic match. About the fear she had seen in the alien's eyes. When she finished, Haeonsu let out a long breath. "So we are related to the most terrifying species the galaxy has ever known." "Not just related," Sumin said. "We are them. Or at least we used to be. Our DNA has changed over thousands of years, but the core is still there. Everything that made the Voroth dangerous is still inside us. Dormant, waiting to wake up." Taeho was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled. "They called us a lesser species," he said softly. "They put us at the bottom of their hierarchy. They treated us like animals." He looked at Sumin, then at Haeonsu. "And now they have learned the truth. The question is, What will they do about it? Outside the cell, they could hear footsteps and shouting. The Imperium was mobilizing. The word was spreading through the fleet. The Vorith had turned, and no one knew what would happen next. The news spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Within hours, every corner of the Imperium knew the truth. The Vorith had returned. They had been hiding on a small planet called Earth. They had been sleeping for 10,000 years. And now they were awake. Panic followed. On 100 worlds, people locked themselves in their homes. Military forces went on high alert. The Imperium's ruling council held emergency meetings that lasted for days without rest. Ambassador Velinara stood before the council and told them what she had found. When she finished, the room was silent. Then everyone started talking at once. "We must destroy them," one council member shouted. "Before they remember who they are. Before they become what they were." "That would be madness," another argued. "If we attack them and fail, we will only make them angry." The old records say the Vorith grew stronger when threatened. Their rage made them unstoppable. Then what do you suggest? We wait while they build their power? We let them come for us? The arguments went on and on. Some wanted war. Some wanted peace. Some wanted to run and hide. No one knew what to do. Meanwhile, aboard the Eternal Dawn, Teho and his crew remained locked in their cell. But something strange was happening. The guards who had once mocked them now refused to meet their eyes. The food they received improved dramatically. Their quarters were upgraded from a bare cell to a comfortable room with beds and furniture. "They are afraid of us," Hyansu said. He sounded almost amused. "Look at them. Grown soldiers who have conquered worlds, and they cannot even look at us." "Fear can be useful," Teho replied, "but it can also be dangerous. A frightened enemy is an unpredictable enemy." Suman spent her time thinking. She had been allowed to keep her datapad, and she used it to study everything she could find about the Voroth. The aliens' records were extensive. They had spent 10,000 years collecting information about their greatest enemy, trying to understand what had made them so powerful. What she learned was remarkable. The Vorath were not mindless beasts. They had built cities and written poetry. They had created art and music. They had loved and mourned and dreamed. But they were also the most dangerous predators the universe had ever seen. Their bodies were designed for survival. They could heal from wounds that would kill any other species. They could go without food or water for weeks. They could survive in extreme heat, extreme cold, and even the vacuum of space for short periods. But their most terrifying ability was something the Imperium called adaptive fury. When a Vorith was threatened, their body changed. Their muscles grew stronger. Their reflexes became faster. Their minds became sharper. The more danger they faced, the more powerful they became. And when pushed to the limit, they entered a state of pure combat focus. That made them nearly impossible to stop. Su-Min read these records with growing wonder. Everything they described sounded familiar. Adrenaline. The human body's response to danger. The burst of strength that let mothers lift cars off their children. The focus that let soldiers fight through pain and exhaustion. The refusal to give up, even when all hope was lost. Humans had these abilities. They had always had them. They just did not know where they came from. "The Voroth traits are dormant in us," Suman told Teho and Hyansu. "They are still there, written in our DNA. We just never had a reason to fully unlock them." "Can we unlock them?" Hyansu asked. His eyes were bright with interest. "Maybe with the right technology. With enough time. But even without unlocking them, we already have some of their abilities. That is why humans are so hard to kill. That is why we keep fighting even when we should give up. It is in our blood. It has always been in our blood." Teho absorbed this information quietly. He had always known there was something special about humanity. He had seen soldiers do impossible things in the heat of battle. He had watched ordinary people perform extraordinary feats when their loved ones were in danger. Now he understood why. "If the Imperium knows this," he said slowly, "then they know we are a threat. Not because of what we are now, but because of what we could become." "That is what they are afraid of," Suman agreed. They are not scared of human technology. They are not scared of human armies. They are scared that one day we might wake up, fully wake up, and become what we used to be. 3 days later, Velenara came to see them personally. She looked tired. There were dark circles under her eyes, and her silver robes were wrinkled. "The council has made a decision," she said. Her voice was flat and empty. "There was much debate. Many wanted to offer you peace, to welcome humanity as equals, and hoped that would be enough to keep you calm, and others." Teho asked. Others remembered the old stories. The Voreth could not be reasoned with. They could not be bargained with. They only understood strength, and they destroyed everything that stood in their way. "We are not the Vorath," Sumin said firmly. "We are humans. We have built societies based on cooperation. We have art and science and love. We are not monsters." Velenara looked at her with something that might have been pity. "Perhaps. Or perhaps you simply have not been given a reason to show your true nature." The council decided not to take that risk. "A fleet has been dispatched to your homeworld. They will arrive in 7 days. What will they do?" Teho asked. His voice was calm, but his hands had curled into fists. "They will cleanse the earth. Every human will be eliminated. Every trace of your species will be destroyed. It is the only way to be sure." Hyensu lunged forward, but Teho grabbed his arm and held him back. "You are making a mistake," Teho said quietly. "Perhaps, but it is a mistake we can survive. Letting you live is a mistake that could destroy us all." Velenara turned to leave. "You will remain here as prisoners. When it is over, you will be released on a remote world where you can live out your lives in peace. That is the only mercy we can offer." She walked out, the door sealed behind her. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Hyensu broke free of Teho's grip and slammed his fist against the wall. "We have to do something," he shouted. "Cannot. Just sit here while they kill everyone." "We will not," Teho said. His voice was still calm, but there was something new in his eyes, something cold and hard and ancient. "They think they know what we are capable of. They are wrong." He looked at Sumin. "You said our abilities are dormant, waiting to wake up." "Yes. Then perhaps it is time to wake them up." Sumin smiled slowly. "I was hoping you would say that." Outside the ship, in the darkness of space, a fleet of warships was gathering. Their weapons were charged. Their course was set. They were coming to end humanity once and for all. They did not know that they were about to give the sleeping Vorath the one thing they needed most, a reason to wake up. The escape was not supposed to work. 3 humans against a ship full of trained soldiers. The odds were impossible. But that was exactly why it worked. Teho waited until the changing of the guard. Asked for water. When the guard opened the door, Teho moved. He had been a soldier for 15 years. He had trained in close combat for most of those years. But what he did in that moment was something more. It was faster than he should have been able to move, stronger than he should have been able to hit. The guard fell before he could make a sound. Hyensu took the guard's weapon. Sumin grabbed his communication device. They moved through the ship's corridors like shadows. Every time they encountered resistance, they cut through it. The aliens were taller and had better weapons, but the humans were something else, something that should not have been possible. "I feel different," Hyensu whispered, "like I'm waking up from a long sleep." "Your body is responding to the threat," Sumin explained. "The dormant genes are activating. The more danger we face, the stronger we become." They found the shuttle bay and stole a small transport ship. The alarms were screaming now. The whole ship knew they had escaped. But by the time anyone could respond, they were already shooting into space. Heading for Earth, they were too late. The Imperium fleet had arrived ahead of schedule. From the shuttle's windows, they could see Earth surrounded by massive warships. Bright lines of energy rained down on the planet's surface. Cities were burning. The skies were filled with smoke and fire. "No," Sumin whispered. "No, no, no." But Teho's face hardened. "We are not too late. The fight is still going. Look." He pointed at the tactical display. The aliens had expected the attack to be over in hours. It had been 3 days, and they were still fighting. Human forces were pushing back. Not winning, but not losing either. They were doing something no Tier 7 species should have been able to do. They were surviving. The shuttle landed in a field outside Seoul. The city was half destroyed, but people were still fighting. Soldiers fired at alien aircraft from ruined buildings. Civilians carried supplies through underground tunnels. Children helped their parents reload weapons. Taeho found the nearest military command post. It was chaos. Officers were shouting. Communications were failing. No one was in charge. He took over. "Listen to me," he said. His voice cut through the noise like a knife. Everyone stopped and looked at him. "The aliens are afraid of us. They think we are connected to something called the Vorath, species that once ruled the galaxy. Species so dangerous that the entire Imperium united just to destroy them." "What does that have to do with us?" the young officer asked. "Everything. Our DNA matches theirs. The abilities they had are inside us. The strength, the speed, the ability to adapt and overcome. We have always had these gifts, just did not know it. Now we need to use them." Word spread quickly. In hours, the story of the Vorath was on every radio channel. Every television broadcast, every internet forum still functioning. Humans learned who they really were. Something changed. The fight changed. Commander Hyensu took charge of the defense of Seoul. The aliens had pushed deep into the city. Their weapons were better. Their armor was stronger. By every measure, they should have won. But the humans would not stop. Hyensu led a unit of 50 soldiers to hold a bridge. The aliens sent 200 troops to take it. The battle lasted for 72 hours. When the humans ran out of ammunition, they fought with knives. When they ran out of knives, they fought with their hands. Soldiers who were shot kept fighting. Men and women who should have been dead refused to fall. The aliens had never seen anything like it. On the third day, the alien commander ordered a retreat. His soldiers were terrified. They had come to cleanse. A primitive world, and they had found something else entirely. They had found the Vorath. Across the planet, similar stories played out. In New York, a group of firefighters defended a hospital for 5 days straight. In Tokyo, office workers organized a resistance cell that destroyed 3 alien landing ships. In Cairo, an old man with a hunting rifle held off an entire patrol long enough for his grandchildren to escape. The aliens had better weapons, better ships, better everything. But humans had something they did not understand. They had the will to survive. The refusal to give up, the ability to grow stronger under pressure instead of weaker. Dr. Suman did not fight. She worked. She set up a laboratory in the basement of a bombed-out university and began studying human genetics with new urgency. If the Vorath abilities were dormant in human DNA, perhaps they could be awakened deliberately. She worked for days without sleep. Other scientists joined her. They shared data across continents using whatever communication systems still worked. And slowly, they began to understand. "The genes are locked," Suman explained to Taeho. "They need a trigger to activate. Strong emotions, extreme stress, mortal danger. And that is why humans perform miracles when their lives are at stake. The Vorath genes are waking up. Can you unlock them permanently? Maybe with the right treatment. But it would change people, make them stronger, faster, harder to kill. They would not be entirely human anymore. Would they still be themselves?" Suman thought about it. "Yes, I think so. The Vorath were not evil. They were just built for survival. We would be the same. Humans with the full power of our ancestors, then do it." The first volunteers came forward. Soldiers who had seen their friends die. Civilians who had lost everything. People who were willing to become something new if it meant protecting what they loved. The treatment was painful. It rewrote parts of their genetic code, activated systems that had been sleeping for thousands of years. But when it was done, the volunteers were changed. They were faster. Their wounds healed in hours instead of weeks. They could see in the dark. They could run for days without rest. And when they fought like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. The first enhanced soldiers hit the alien lines like a hurricane. They moved through enemy positions with terrifying speed. They shrugged off wounds that should have killed them. They fought with a focus and fury that made the aliens scream in terror. The invasion had started as a cleansing, was becoming a nightmare. Above Earth, The alien fleet commanders watched their forces crumble. They sent more troops. The troops died. They bombed cities to rubble. The humans kept fighting from the rubble. They tried to retreat and regroup. The humans followed them. "This is impossible," one commander whispered. "They were supposed to be a Tier 7 species. They were supposed to be animals." "They are not animals," another replied. His voice was hollow with fear. "They are Vorath. They've always been Vorath. We just woke them up." On the ground, Tejo stood on top of a ruined building and watched the alien dropships retreat into the sky. His uniform was torn and bloody. He had not slept in 4 days, but he was smiling. "They are running," Hyansu said, joining him. "For now, they will be back with more ships, more soldiers. They cannot afford to let us live. Then we will beat them again." Tejo nodded slowly. "Yes, we will. But beating them is not enough. We need to end this. Forever." He looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there was the heart of the Imperium, the council that had ordered humanity's destruction, the leaders who had called them a lesser species. "They started this war," Tejo said quietly. "We are going to finish it." Far above, in orbit, an alien officer stared at his tactical display with growing horror. The humans were not just defending anymore. They were preparing ships, captured vessels, stolen technology. They were learning how it worked with impossible speed. They were getting ready to leave their world. They were getting ready to fight back. The first human warship left Earth 63 days after the invasion began. It was an alien vessel, captured and repaired by human engineers who had learned alien technology with terrifying speed. Its crew was small but determined. Its captain was Tejo. They called themselves the New Varoth, not because they wanted to be monsters, but because they wanted the Imperium to remember what they had tried to destroy, to remember what they had awakened. The ship's name was the Dawn of Earth. It was the first of many. Across the planet, humans were building, repairing, and learning. Every captured alien weapon was studied and copied. Every piece of enemy technology was taken apart and understood. Within months, humanity had gone from barely reaching Mars to building ships that could cross the stars. It should have taken centuries. It took weeks. How is this possible? An alien prisoner asked Suman. He was a scientist who had been captured during the invasion. He could not understand what he was seeing. "We are fast learners," Suman replied with a small smile. "No species learns this fast. No species adapts this quickly. No species is like us. You made sure of that when you tried to destroy us." The Dawn of Earth was not alone for long. More ships followed. Some were captured. Some were built from scratch using alien technology as a guide. The human fleet grew from 1 ship to 10, from 10 to 50, from 50 to hundreds. The Imperium sent another fleet to stop them. It was larger than the first. Better equipped, better prepared, it did not matter. Tejo led the defense. His ships were outnumbered 3 to 1. His crews were still learning how to use alien weapons. But they fought like Vorath. They took risks that no sane species would take. They pushed themselves beyond every limit. And when the battle was over, the Imperium fleet was running, not retreating. Running, their ships fleeing in every direction. Their commanders screaming about demons and monsters. Hyansu laughed when he heard the transmissions. "Demons. They call us demons now," Tejo said. "Let them fear us. Let them remember that fear every time they think about attacking another species." The human counteroffensive began 3 months later. Tejo led a strike force into Imperium space. Their target was a military outpost on the edge of their territory. It was supposed to be a test, a way to measure their strength against the enemy. They destroyed the outpost in 4 hours. The next target was a larger base, then a small colony, then a major shipyard. Each victory made humanity stronger. Each battle taught them more. Each enemy they defeated added to their fleet, their resources, their knowledge. The Imperium Council watched in horror as their outer territories fell. They sent armies, and the armies were destroyed. They sent assassins, and the assassins were captured. They tried to negotiate, and their diplomats were turned away. What do they want? One council member asked. Do they want revenge? Do they want our worlds? Do they want to destroy us? No one had an answer. The truth was that Tahoe had spent many nights thinking about that question. What did humanity want? What would they do with their power once they had it? He found his answer in the faces of his crew, in the soldiers who fought beside him, in the families they had left behind on Earth, in the children who would grow up in a galaxy that had tried to kill them. Humanity did not want revenge. Humanity wanted something better. 1 year after the invasion of Earth, Tahoe stood before the Imperium Council. The Great Chamber was filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Many had come expecting to witness humanity's demands for surrender. They expected violence, destruction, the fury of a species that had been wronged instead. They got Tae-Ho. He was flanked by Su-Min and Hyeon-Su. Behind them stood 100 human soldiers in gleaming armor. They did not raise their weapons. They did not threaten. They simply stood and waited. Called us a lesser species, Tae-Ho began. His voice echoed through the chamber. You ranked us at the bottom of your hierarchy. You treated us like animals. And when you discovered the truth about our blood, you tried to destroy us. He paused and looked around the room. Every alien face was pale with fear. You failed. And now you expect us to do to you what you tried to do to us? You expect us to burn your worlds? To wipe out your species? To take revenge for what you did? Another pause. The silence was heavy. But we are not you. We are not the Vorith of your old stories. We are humans. And humans do not build empires on the bones of the innocent. A murmur went through the crowd. Confusion. Disbelief. We do not want your empire, Tae-Ho continued. We do not want your worship. We do not want you to bow to us the way you made others bow to you. We want something simpler, something better. What? Velinara asked. She was sitting in the front row, her face a mask of exhaustion. What could you possibly want? Tae-Ho looked at her. We want you to remember. Remember what? Remember what you forgot? Remember that the universe does not belong to the strong. It does not belong to the cruel. It does not belong to those who rank others beneath them. He stepped forward. The universe belongs to the survivors, to those who fight for what they love, to those who refuse to give up no matter how bad things get. He spread his hands. Humanity has always survived. Through ice ages and plagues, through wars and disasters, through every challenge the universe has thrown at us. We survived because we never stopped fighting, never stopped hoping, never stopped believing that tomorrow could be better than today. What are you asking of us? Another council member demanded. The hierarchy of species ends today. No more rankings. No more tears. Every civilization in this galaxy will be treated as equals. The strong will protect the weak. The advanced will teach the developing. And no one, his voice hardened, no one will ever call another species lesser again. The council erupted in argument. Some refused. Some demanded war. But they were outnumbered by those who saw the truth. The Imperium was broken. Its fleets were destroyed. Its people were terrified. They had tried to kill the Vorath, and the Vorath had shown them mercy. It was more than they deserved. The hierarchy of species was abolished that day. The Imperium dissolved within a decade, replaced by a galactic coalition where every voice mattered. It was not perfect. Nothing was perfect, but it was better. Better than what had come before. Tae-Ho returned to Earth a hero. But he did not want parades or statues. He wanted to sit in his apartment and watch the sun rise over the city that had almost been destroyed. He wanted to drink coffee and read the news and know that his people were safe. Su-Min continued her research. She found ways to help humans unlock their potential safely. Not turning them into weapons, but giving them the strength to build, to grow, to reach the stars. Her work saved millions of lives. Hyeon-Su became a teacher. He trained the next generation of soldiers, not to fight, but to protect. To defend those who could not defend themselves. His students went on to keep the peace across 100 worlds. Years passed. The story of the Vorath became legend. Children across the galaxy learned about the small blue world at the edge of space, the world where an ancient species had slept for millennia, the world that had risen from the ashes to change everything. On Earth, a new monument was built in Seoul. It was simple. Just a tall stone pillar with words carved into it. The words were in every language of humanity, and below them, in every language of the galaxy. The inscription read, "We were called a lesser species. We proved them wrong, not through hatred, not through revenge, but by showing the universe what we had always known, that the measure of a species is not how it treats the powerful, it is how it treats the powerless. We are humans. We are the Vorath. We are survivors, and we will never stop reaching for the stars." Far above in the depths of space, ships bearing the flag of Earth continued their journey outward, exploring, discovering, building bridges to worlds that had never been visited. The galaxy had feared the return of the Vorath. They had expected monsters. Instead, they got humanity, and that made all the difference.